Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hanging Out with Howie. Yeah, we've been having a little fun here before we started recording. Tonight's show is going to be on resilience. Facing resilience in the face of adversity was the title. And I got this from watching 60 Minutes last night, the Rita Moreno interview. And I've always been a big fan of hers. And she is one of only 3 artists in the world and in history to have EGOT. And that is winning an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony, as well as, a great dancer. And during the interview, she had started out in the 50s. And she experienced a lot of racism and so forth. And she was, cast in, pejorative parts early on in her career. But she persevered. That was one of her hallmarks, was her perseverance. Now, towards the end of the interview, she was asked, well, did that make you tough? And she said, no. I'm not tough, I'm not hard, and I'm not bitter. She said, I'm resilient. And that really impressed me. So I had to looked this up to see what I had a pretty good idea what resilience is. But according to the dictionary, resilience is the capacity to overcome quickly from difficulties. And I thought, wow. We do this, often, and certainly this panel here has seen their share of difficulties as of late. So, Brian, I gotta go to you first. I got to. You are one of the most resilient people I've met.
I'm a cockroach.
Cockroach.
I'm hard to kill.
You are hard to kill.
Is there a question in there?
Yeah. What do you think about, resilience as far it I mean, in our case, it doesn't have to necessarily be about, our physical difficulties, but I mean, we run into things like this, just, in business or entertainment in itself. Okay.
Well, in general, I think Jay and I have had this conversation where it's relative. So if you've had a real good and then something rotten happens to you, you tend to fall apart. Whereas, if you clawed your way up and you've been, kicked in the nads enough times, little things that have, some things that may seem big to some people could be, little to you. It's all relative, It's like, what have you been through? So, I know a lot of people who have had it really well, everything's been fine, and one little thing happens and they fall apart. Or maybe something big happens and they fall apart. Well, Howie, you and I have talked about this.
Yes, we have.
So I think it's relative to what you've been through and what you've been able to overcome in the past, and don't discount any little hurdle that you clear. Every little hurdle counts. And yeah, like you say, I don't know that it necessarily makes you tough, but it makes you resilient. And yeah, no stranger to that.
Well, since you've talked to Jay about it, Jay, what's your take on this?
I think there's always got to be that sense of looking forward. And, everyone here has had tough times and we've handled it the way we've handled it. And, all of us have a certain gene of, oh man, when it's going tough, I'm going to let the whole world know because I need that to inspire me. And then there are other people that get run silent, run deep. And they're very you don't even know that hurting. And, our buddy CB are the initials, Brian, that I would never know anything bad was going on with him out near me. And all of a sudden it's but then he would bounce back and do stuff. And I just think it's, everyone's got their own methodology behind it. I think you have to always kind of look at it from a perspective of, this may sound mean, but hope's not a plan.
No.
Hope is not a plan. The enemy always gets a vote. So if you're going up against something, that something always has something it can do to you. You just have to kind of go through it. I heard a quote the other day that's not very long, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to give it to you guys really quick. And it's hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And I think it speaks to the resilience of, I've never heard Brian complain once. And I mean, I've been with him when he's had 15-hour days where I probably wouldn't have been as nice as he was at the end of it. And I probably would have let people know, hey, God damn it, look at me. I've had these problems. You need to back off. And he'll come back with these great so he becomes inspirational. And I think resilience is often based on your ability to see others' inspiration and kind of draw away from them a little bit and then put it into your pocket of resilience. And you just, the only way through it sometimes is through it. It'd be great to just go, oh, screw it, I'm going to move and get this and that. I think we're all, as DJs, put in a position where every event we do, there's an opportunity for catastrophic failure. And every event you've done up until that moment could be wiped out. So I think we're very quick on our feet. I think we're very fast to make solutions out of thin air. And let's face it, if everyone in the room thinks you're in charge, they'll follow you. And whatever you choose to do, they'll view it as the right thing to do. I think that's part of our DNA as DJs.
Yeah, I think that's true about people following you, because there used to be a game we would play, kind of like Brian's You Got a Dollar. We would get together and I'd say, come here, just look up, trust me. So we're looking up. And then pretty soon, everybody starts looking up. You see that? Oh my gosh. And next thing you know, there's 50, 100 people looking up at nothing. We were just goofing on them, but you're right about that.
Yeah. People follow. Somebody came to me a while back and gave me a great little short thing. And they said, if I promise you, if I guarantee you will not fail, what would you do different when you wake up tomorrow? And it's a great thing in your head to kind of just start the day with, wow, it's like replacing have to with get to. I have to go to this wedding. I get to go to this wedding. I have to go to Howie's show. No, I don't have to. I get to. There's a huge sense of, I don't have to take a sip of this wine, but I get to. Things like that. I'm just saying.
Wow. Now, Eric, we're not going to leave you for last, but we didn't take you first. You go, oh, yeah, I don't want everybody to pick my ideas. But
I do like to go
in
first.
A very difficult spot. You were in a difficult spot almost 2 years ago.
You know what? We've hashed this out, and that horse is dead and is buried now. And I love that.
I love that
happened.
I love
and I'll
that
tell you
about
what.
You.
A couple things that I'm going to bank on what these guys just said. Brian saying, when this first happened, it was pretty devastating to me. Brian took it smooth sailing because he had been through something even more catastrophic with his stroke. And he was just like, okay, it's a hurdle. Yes. To him, it was a small hurdle. To me, it was a big hurdle. And so you can't discount that it was a small hurdle to him. But, but again, it was a hurdle. Something that Jay had said, I'm going to do a quote as well. I never said it would be easy, but I said it would be worth it. In this business, we're all pretty much type A personalities. Yes, we do like to think that we know everything, but guess what? Look around this room. We aren't the smartest group of guys, are we?
That's
no.
Yeah.
Just by looking at us. But we actually are pretty good at what we do. I think that are all of us self-employed, right? This is all that we do, right? All of us in here.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Or related to. Yeah.
We have to succeed and we will do whatever it takes. And so when Howie, when you posted this and said overcoming and being resilient, the first thing that came to my mind said, okay, what do I do to help me become that person? And I'll tell you, I'm going to look around the room once again. Making friends in this business is absolutely paramount. You have to have friends because as much as you think we know everything, we don't know everything. And there's always someone who knows a little bit more or is a little bit better than us. So to me, making friends in this business is what being resilient is all about to me. If I have an issue or situation or problem that I can't solve, I know I've got one of you guys out there to help me. And so to me, that's extremely important to have that in my life. And that helps me become more resilient.
Wow, that's a really good point. Very good point.
Yep.
Bill, we're gonna have you up next. You got anything on that?
I think a lot of it is you build it up as you go. I mean, we keep using Brian kind of as our poster boy here, but in some ways, he's in the most recent time, he has had a tough road. We learned a while back that somebody that we all know, went through a pretty tough road, and I think your past defines your present and your future as well. And so the person you've become is because of the things you went through. There's been a lot of things, but I'm just going to put this in a simple DJ perspective. I can't be at an event and not succeed. I mean, that's just my mentality. And I've had a wedding where suddenly I had a gut-wrenching pain I'd never felt before. Someone said, "Oh, does it feel like labor?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Oh, you got kidney stones." Right in the middle of a wedding. I had just introduced the bride and groom. I finished the wedding. I mean, you just do it. You suck it up, buttercup. But sometimes, that's easy to say when it's not you going through it. So all the respect in the world for the people who have way tougher lives than I've had. But, until you've thrown bales of hay in the 110 degrees and a hayloft that's 120 degrees, maybe your perspective is skewed based on what you know and what you don't know. And maybe none of that made sense because
it did.
No, sure.
I got it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't want to interrupt, but what Bill said made me think immediately, you know what we all are in this room? We're all responsible for ourselves. Like, we don't go somewhere during the day where we've got 5 layers of bosses who can take hits and make decisions. We're the ultimate decision maker. We guide our own destiny. And at the end of the day, if it didn't go well, it ultimately comes down to what we didn't do or what we did do. There's no greater high than having a great wedding because it was on me. And when a wedding doesn't go right, guess what? That's on me too. And I have to learn so I don't repeat that same mistake. So I totally agree with what Bill's saying.
Yeah, I think that's what Brian and I say this often. We sometimes have to put on our stage health. And then, we're done. Maybe we got to go lay down somewhere. John Cawley from Boston, where I'm going to be seeing you next Monday. I saved you for last because
very soon in a week.
You
yes,
are quite the resilient person. I've actually worked with you, and we've worked through some difficulties, and we pulled off the show.
We got our show done, and to speak to the whole idea of where resiliency comes from, we didn't start out that way. We were made this way. We face the opposition. We don't always take no for the first answer. Sometimes we got to push our way through a couple of doors, but to get to the level of experience, it's, without saying that it toughens you up, it makes you approach each situation with a little more unique perspective. You're more creative. If something didn't work in one respect, you try the approach a little differently. We have to do a lot of convincing, a lot of negotiating to get the doors to open for us. And once we get through and we've proven ourselves, a lot of the walls are knocked down and things get easier for us. But we all weren't born DJs. We all came up through the rank and file, and it took a lot of time, a lot of work, and a lot of effort for us to be our own boss and to wear all the hats. So that speaks to our resiliency and being able to persevere through the opposition and just say, you know, if you have a bad day, you pick it up, you start again the next day, and you put it right back on the rails and keep it moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. Because, I mean, how many people do we know that are not in this business anymore? They folded up their tent, they're gone, and we're still here. I mean, a lot of great points, guys. I wish I could say that I've had difficulties in life, but it's been great for me. I'm no troubles at all.
Don't be Mr. Modest Mouse over there. Jesus.
Yeah.
I know you better than that.
No, I just think my opinion. Just my opinion. I don't know. Maybe you guys can shed some light on this after I say this, but I think, in my opinion, that you have to be born with a certain attitude, and I think I was blessed with that.
Yeah, you have the right attitude. You always have.
Yeah, I mean, I was not the least bit scared with that little cancer scare, let alone the other stuff. When
I'm not even thinking about the cancer.
Yeah, but
yeah, I mean,
well,
you've been through all
the
kinds
other
of neat
stuff. Yeah, they're hurdles, you know. And I've never looked at things as problems. I don't particularly care for that word. They're just situations and difficulties that are in search of a solution, and that's what I do. I find solutions one way or another, and I think all of us do that here. I've seen every one of you do that.
Can I share a private moment?
Yeah.
Oh no.
You can even tell secrets if you want. I don't.
Well,
care.
I'm going to tell a secret that you and I kept. Not really a secret, but something people don't know.
Oh, okay.
What happens in Vegas?
So yeah, no.
That one time in band camp.
Howie he does have the right attitude, you know, and everybody has a bad day, and Howie's no exception to that, and that's okay. It's an average. How many good days do you have versus bad days? And Howie has many more good days than he does bad days. And if you can say that, you're good. Now, I know what he's been through in his life. We've talked. I know Howie, and I don't want to. How do I want to say? I don't want to breach any trust in sharing any of this stuff with you, but I will say that he's been through more than most. He's been through more than most. So I get a call, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe a little more. Howie is like, dude, I got cancer. I'm like, okay, tell me about it. Well, you know, I got to go through this treatment thing and all this. And I'm like, okay, Howie. So when the treatment's over, what's the prognosis? He's like, well, it'll be fine because but I got to go through this. I'm like, dude, shut up. You're going to be fine. That's the only part that you needed to say that I needed to hear. Stop your whining and do it. Because Howie can do that. He just needed, I think he needed to hear it from me. Maybe he did. Maybe I was being a bad friend, but I really just thought, dude, that's the most important part. There's
going to be okay.
There's light. You're going to be fine. It's going to suck for now, but you're going to be fine in the end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of how we talk to each other, right?
Yeah, we do though. I mean, and that's the value, you know, that Eric brought up about, you know, we can't do this. I can't do this alone. You know, I mean, to even bounce personal things off of people, you know, so that we can go out with a genuine smile and entertain people. I mean,
sure.
Jay,
feel confident about ourselves.
Right. Now, Jay, your wife went through that cancer treatments as well just recently, and you still had to go out and perform and, you know, put on a good show for people.
But that's the beauty of that relationship. I mean, you know, my wife's my best friend, and I call most, if not all of you, friends. But you know what? I grew up in a very small family, and I don't want to offend anybody, but you know, I've got friends. Like if I called Brian at 3 a.m. and said, I need $2,000 and I need it in 10 minutes ago, he's one of like 4 people on the planet I know that would be like, where do I send it?
Yeah.
Who told you that
there's-
shit?
But that's my point. There's
Brian?
levels, right? There's different levels.
Yeah.
And, you know, I haven't physically seen Pulse Christian physically seen him in 2 years, but I talk to him almost every day, talk to him every couple days, whatever. But with Michelle, we viewed it as, you know, we just need to go through this. You guys don't know this. I'll let you in really quick. My youngest son, Colin, was a C-section, so we knew the date of his birth. Like, we went to the doctor, like, okay, October 6th, in 8 months, you're going to have a baby. Oh, what time? 8 a.m. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Welcome to modern medicine. And I said right then and there, I said, that's a Thursday. I'm going to probably book a Friday, Saturday wedding. Do you want me to block those dates? No. You need to work. Okay. And that was the same thing with going through the cancer treatment. I went to every doctor's appointment except I think one, because they were always during the week. I was there for both surgeries. I didn't go to any of the radiation because it was always midday, you know, for 10 minutes and whatever. But she was very clear up front about, yeah, you don't have a gig that day. Like, she would say to me, you don't have a gig that day, do you? You're not doing a happy hour that day, are you? Or whatever. And I think that that gave me the foresight into seeing the future, because she didn't call herself dying. She called herself, I have to make appointments. Let's make it so that it works for both of us. And I think that's really all you can do. I mean, you know, always outnumbered, never outgunned.
I think it's
People
interesting.
hate that expression, but
Yeah.
inside my head, I'll say that to myself sometimes and be like, always outnumbered, never outgunned, meaning you can do this, because you have to pep talk yourself.
Well,
Even with the cancer, it's like-
I think it's real interesting when I listen to the stories that everyone's told tonight, how sometimes, and we're all doing it, we talk about, you know, almost, I call them the hero stories. They're, you know, when you just go from here to, you know, rock stardom and you totally hit it. But I think the truth is, for me anyway, my truth is, my goal is to survive it. That's my only goal. I want to survive it. I want to survive the day. I want to survive the gig. I want to survive the conflict. I want to survive the circumstances in front of me. That's all I want to do, is survive them. If they're successful or not, that's another thing. And you know, surviving them is a degree of success, but to say they're knocked out of the park sometimes isn't fair. Surviving is step one. Now, if you survive them and they go incredibly well, great. You got a rock star story to tell. You got a hero story to tell. But for me, it's really, honestly, the first step is just surviving it. If I get through that, just I just gotta get through it.
Let me ask you folks, when I said that was just my opinion, you know, that, you know, people are born with that. Do you think that people can learn to be resilient?
I have.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely
You
have.
think so? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think you can make people believe in themselves, because I
there was
think
a
too many
time-
people quit that don't believe in themselves.
It's conditioning, Howie.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
you know, you hear the stories about people who are in the military who, you know, they go in and they're afraid of this and they're not strong and all this, and they come out, you know, they've been broken down and built back up into something different, into something better, into something more resilient, into something that's more confident. I can remember a time when I was somebody who I guess looking back, I wasn't proud of. And then I met some people and they had a certain disposition about them that I really admired. And I thought, wow, I want to be like this person. I want to be positive like this person. I want to be happy like this person. I want to be confident like this person. And I want to be just happy for those around me like this person is. I was jealous of people. I was trying to get what I could get and what's in it for me. And I met people that changed that. So, I mean, my core has always been me, but I feel like I've been influenced by others to be better. And so, yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily a disposition from birth. I think it can be a learned behavior, especially if you want it.
Well, yeah, learned behavior. That's a good point. Maybe we should make a course and some DVDs on how to be resilient, and we can all be rich.
And sell them.
We'll sell them.
I don't want to cut
Let's make one called How to Have a Moral Compass and sell it.
That's a good one.
I'm with you. I like that one.
I don't want to cut anyone's legs out, but I use this expression around the kids all the time, and it tends to be too truthful and too accurate. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And the point simply being, just like Brian said, when you meet up with the right people, if you're around people that are working hard, they're successful, they have good compasses, they're striving, you're not going to stay with them very long if you don't adapt to their environment. If you don't go, that's what I want too. I want the nice house. I want the pretty wife. I want the cool car. How am I going to get there? Well, they're all working 5 jobs. They're not going out drinking every Friday and Saturday night. They're not doing this, this, and this. They don't take for granted that every day is a gift. And I mean, let's face it, you guys realize we're coming up on 2 years of us doing this.
We are.
Like 2 years because of situations that were given to us by the planet. And yet we're still here kind of smiling and looking forward to, I'm excited today. I'm just like, okay, I got to make sure I make Howie's show. I got my show tomorrow night. Like, granted, as you guys know, and if you don't, I'll disclose very quickly, I do make hundreds of thousands of dollars through my contract with John Young. But outside of that, I do it for the love. It's not just about the hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's for the love. But you're going to hear something. I'm going to hear Eric make a comment, and I'm going to put it in the back and go, I'm going to take that. John C. made a comment a couple weeks ago that I started doing today where I'm like, I see. Okay, that's cool. Go back to Billboard Top 100 for every year, going back to like the 70s. Let me see what I do have. Let me see what I need to get. Let me make some better crates. Howie's obviously, created some amazing programs on my lights. Brian has been a rock that I've looked to over the years to bounce things off of and take advice from and kind of go, hey man, how would you do this? Well, to be honest with you, I would do this. Because here's a guy, let's be blunt, he's got one hand that's really working for him. He's taken the alternator out of his Chevy Suburban, but yet his comeback to me now will be, dude, it's 3 bolts and it's right on top. Even he downplays the accomplishment. But it's inspirational that I can't go out and do the brake pads on a Jeep Grand Cherokee when Brian can with one hand take out an alternator. So it's that constantly revisiting the inspiration of this is what makes you resilient, is your surroundings, the people you look up to, and the people that you can draw from, the people you can take things from.
Something that I want to stress, and I won't take too much of the airtime here, but I don't want anybody to ever think that resilience is a contest. You handle what you can handle. Your hardship is your hardship. It's no worse or better or greater or lesser than mine or Howie's or anybody else's.
That's true.
My brother, he had cancer and he was talking about, his struggles and what he was going through. And he was like, well, I know you go through worse than that. I'm like, well, hold on a minute, dude. This is not a competition here.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Right.
You're having a hard time. It has nothing to do with the hard time I've had. Let's not try to be judgy with this shit.
You put your head down at the end of the day and you have to live with your decisions, but knowing what you're willing to put up with. Real quick, I saw an interview with a professional golfer, and they said, a lot of people play golf now. It's a huge game. On the weekends, people go play golf. You're a professional. What makes you a professional versus the guy that plays every weekend? He goes, I'm willing to put up with the boredom. What do you mean? He goes, there are days that I spend 8 straight hours with one club hitting the same ball the same way. And I've done that hundreds of thousands of times. He goes, that's why I'm a pro, because I'm willing to put up with the boredom of doing this consistently and continuously to get to where I am. The guys that play on the weekend, they're not willing to do that. So they're happy with where they are, and they should be, but I wanted more. So it's not a competition, but if you're willing to go through more, if you're willing to be that guy that's up at 6 a.m., running, answering emails, doing that, I envy you. Even though it's not a competition, because I can draw inspiration.
Oh no! I was referring to just hardships.
Oh no, I totally agree.
Right.
I think there are times you become inspirational because of your hardships, Brian. I watch the way you handle things. I've never in all these years, I've never once heard you complain. I've never once heard you whine about, man, I really wish. I remember the video where you went driving like a couple months after having a...
Okay, just room with him one time and you'll...
No, I stayed at his house. No. And the thing about him is, he is the small spoon. And that's really appreciated when you're a guest at someone's house. Because, you know, you're alone and you're like, you know, oh, okay, there's Brian. But no, I think we're very fortunate to have the people around us that we have. And in today's technology where we can instantly go into a chat, I mean, I don't for 1 minute take for granted how fortunate I am to have you guys in my life, to have my wife and kids in my life. Yeah, 2021 has been a terrible year. It's also been one of the busiest years I've ever had. So I have to come to grips with that somehow. And I'll take my licks and I'll cry in private and I'll do my thing here and there. But it will be because I look to others and say, they've gone through more. Who am I to complain? How dare I whine about, oh, I can't get this to work today, when other people barely have a pot in and they're still going forward. And I draw from them. And I pray that at the end of their day, they're a step ahead of where they started. I don't want to get preachy, but...
No, if you take inspiration from it, that's cool. But yeah, I can't stress it enough. It is still not a competition. Just because you think somebody has it worse than you does not make your problems any less than they really are.
No, your problems are as big as your problems are, and you handle them the way you handle them.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly okay. Yeah, no, if you cry, you cry. And if you laugh, you laugh. Yeah. Whatever you have to do to get through that wall.
Lose your shit. Yeah. I do.
But just whatever. When it's all said and done, when you get to that wall, if you can't go over it, if you can't go around it, you're going to eventually have to go through it.
What I had said
Once you go through one, you'll go through the next and the next and the next.
I wouldn't go through the wall. I would do, because each and every one of you.
You'd rig some electrical thing that would bounce you up and over the wall.
No, what I would do is I would call on each and every one of you in this room, because I know that you're givers and you're helpers. And I would say, can you help me get over that wall?
Well, with what I said to Howie,
everybody here has helped someone along the way.
What I said to you earlier, in our conversation, Howie.
Yes.
What I'd said to you about, dude, what's the problem? It wasn't relative to my hardships. It was relative to your hardships. So I want to make that crystal clear. I wasn't comparing my life to his life. I was looking at his life and thinking, dude, what's the big deal?
Mm-hmm.
That's just to be clear on that. I wasn't trying to, well, I've had a stroke and you're complaining about this. I would never be that guy. Unless you're begging for money, and then I will be that guy.
No, but that's my point too, Brian. You've never
crossed
done
my mind.
No, and Howie's never.
But now that it's in there,
yeah, now the seed has been planted.
I need $2,000.
Right. No, but you watch people like I watched Eric when this whole thing jumped off, and all of a sudden I'm like, what the hell? Eric's got like 4,000 feet of screen, and he's doing drive-in theaters up in Sarah. What? Wait, what?
That's just
where did
you
pull that off? But that's the thing. And I watched John go on Twitch 3 nights a week for a year and a half without missing a beat. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on the business. But the business ended last week with my last wedding until next year. Hence why I'm suddenly starting to be like, wow, Jay's back on Twitch. What's this all about?
We had nothing else to do.
Yeah. But I didn't want to lose steps. I didn't want to take that. Like I watch a lot of people go, hey man, I had 2 weddings last weekend. The wife and I are going to go to a hotel for 3 days. I'm like, why? And I've had guys younger than me say to my face, man, I can't do this 2 weddings in a row thing. How many do you want a year? I said, I want 150. They're like, wait, what? I said, I want 3 a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're like, you're kidding. I'm like, no, because at this much money, this is how much I could put away for retirement and the kids' college. And I'll do the work. You guys have seen me at these trade shows. First in, last out, 2 hours sleep, doesn't matter. I have a job to do, and that's wholly most important to me, because no matter how you cut it, at the end of it, it's you that's responsible for you. I can't blame the hangover. I can't blame the this and that.
I would like to address what you said about Eric, where you were saying how, we were here 1 minute and the next minute he's got these screens and he's doing drive-in movies and stuff.
Yeah, remember?
But you know what? I don't think I've ever said this publicly, and I want you to hear this, Eric. that did not even kind of surprise me that you did that. Like it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's doing that. I'm looking like, of course he's doing that.
He's a super
because
pivot
that's
guy.
who Eric is.
Yeah, he pivots. Like you watch him, he pivots. But see, you just said it. There you go, Howie. Let's wrap. You should almost wrap on that. You know what this show is about? Resilience. And you know what it came down to? I had to do something. That's resilience. Right. That's the definition of resilience. I had to do something.
Because we're entertainers, we're performers. That's what we do.
Okay, you've watered it down now. You should have left on the hit. I gave you the way out.
We want the fortune cookie.
Hey, you're talking to the guy that can't stop talking. When he gets to the point, he should just walk away. Trust me, I know what the point was. That reminds me, one time I was driving my car and it was about 78, 79.
To band camp?
Okay.
Self-aware, it's important.
All right. Hey, seriously, it is a good spot to end on. And hey, I've learned something myself that I guess it is possible to learn resilience. I happen to be fortunate enough to be resilient at a real early age. And I want to thank each and every one of you tonight and for your viewership out there. And as Brian says, we really do appreciate you folks tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Good night, all.